Hi everyone, I hope you're all having a great day. We miss seeing you here at church, but I know we'll all get together again soon. Last week was Easter and we had such an amazing story learning that Jesus died on the cross, but he didn't stay dead. He came back to life and walked on earth for about 40 days. So today we're going to talk about some of the things that happened when Jesus was on earth after his resurrection. To start off, I want to show you a picture. What do you see? Do you see a tree? It's pretty easy to see the tree, isn't it? Do you see anything besides a tree? How about a gorilla? Can you see a gorilla? Look on the left side of the picture. There's the gorilla. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? But that isn't the only hidden picture here. There is also a lion hidden in the picture. Do you see it? Look on the right side of the picture. Now do you see it? Isn't it cool that the picture of the tree was actually hiding pictures of the gorilla and the lion? At first, we probably didn't see the gorilla and the lion. We had difficulty recognizing those parts of the picture. Our story today is about two men who had some difficulty in recognizing Jesus as he joined them on the walk to a village called Emmaus. On the very same day that Jesus raised from the grave, two of his followers were walking to Emmaus and talking about everything that had happened over the past several days. As they walked along, Jesus joined them, but the Bible tells us that they were kept from recognizing him. "What are you discussing as you walk along?" Jesus asked the men. "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who doesn't know all that has happened in the past few days?" One of the men replied. "What things?" Jesus asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "Our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death. They crucified him and buried him. Some women said that they went to his tomb this morning and they didn't find his body. They said that an angel appeared to them and told them that Jesus was alive." They continued walking and talking to Jesus. As they approached the village, Jesus continued on as if he was going to go further, but the men urged him to stay with them since the day was almost over. Jesus agreed and stayed with them. As they sat down at the table to eat, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and gave it to them. When he did this, their eyes were opened and they recognized that it was Jesus. Then he disappeared from their sight. What must they have been thinking? Jesus was with them the whole time, but they didn't even realize it. Do you know that Jesus is with us always, even now? These past few weeks have been a little crazy, haven't they? But Jesus has been with us the entire time. He never leaves us. Soon after Jesus traveled on the road to Emmaus, some of the disciples went fishing. But in the morning they realized they were empty-handed. They hadn't caught anything. As they approached the shore, a man who was standing on the beach called out, "Friends, did you catch anything?" The disciples shook their head no. They had not caught anything. The man on the shore shouted to them, "Throw your net on the other side of the boat. When you do, you will catch some fish." I wonder if the disciples were surprised by this instruction. Who was this man anyway? And why was he telling them to throw their net on the other side of the boat? What good would that do? They had been fishing all night and hadn't caught anything. Surely it didn't make a difference on what side of the boat they dropped their net. But something made the disciples follow the man's instruction. They dropped their net on the other side of the boat. What happened next was so surprising that the disciples were in disbelief. Suddenly their net was filled to the top with fish. It was so heavy that they couldn't even pull the net out of their boat. Suddenly, John realized who was standing on the beach. He shouted to the disciple Peter, "It's the Lord!" As soon as Peter heard that, he put on his coat and jumped in the water and started swimming towards the shore. He couldn't wait to see Jesus. The other disciples followed in the boat, but when they got to the shore, they saw a fire burning. There were fish cooking on the coals of the fire, and there was also some bread nearby. Jesus said to the disciples, "Bring some of your fish you just caught, and we'll have breakfast." Peter went back to the boat and dragged the net to shore. It was full of fish, 153 of them. But this time, all the disciples knew it was Jesus, and they were so happy to see him. Jesus gave the disciples some of the bread and fish, and they had breakfast on the beach. They knew that Jesus was alive and was just more proof that it was so true. After they had eaten, Jesus turned to Peter and asked him if he loved him most. Peter replied, "Yes, Lord," but Peter was probably filled with shame because just a few days before, he had denied that he even knew who Jesus was. Jesus asked Peter the same question 2 more times. Peter was hurt that Jesus would ask him the same question 3 times. He said, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Well then, Peter, I have work for you to do. You need to take care of my sheep." Jesus knew that Peter would be a very important leader in the church once Jesus went back into heaven. He was telling Peter that it was his job to take care of Jesus' followers. And do you know that Jesus has a job for you to do too? Since we love Jesus, we need to share that love with others. We have the hope of going to live in heaven with Jesus forever, and we need to let others know that they can have that hope too. There are some ways you can serve during this time, even from home. You can write a letter to someone who lives on their own. You can write a card of encouragement to a hospital worker. You can even call someone to cheer them up. Whatever you do, don't forget that we love you. We want you to remember that Jesus is alive, and because of that, we have hope. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.